Hey guys, welcome to another limited review video for Oath of the Gatewatch. We're doing blue today, did white yesterday. We'll be doing other colors, the other three colors as the week goes on. So let's just go ahead and get right into our list. The best uncommon, I think, in Oath of the Gatewatch, and before I get to it, I would say that the uncommons are a little underwhelming in blue. Usually the best uncommons in a color are cards that I could see myself first picking on a semi-regular basis, and I don't think that's true for blue, but so we'll get there. But I think the best uncommon is Cyclone Sire, a 5-mana 3/4 flyer, which is already okay. And then on top of that, it has the nice effect that it creates a card basically when it dies, it makes one of your lands into a 3/3 creature. So, any card that sort of has an effect, it's not quite as good as putting a 3/3 token onto the battlefield when it dies, but it's not so far from that effect that it's a bad card. In addition to that, it's a decently costed flyer, even though it's not an incredibly aggressively costed one. So I think it's a card that's good. I don't, like I said though, I don't think this is a card that people will be opening up in their pack and saying, "Man, that's a sweet mythic uncommon that I want to be taking first pick all the time." I do have an honorable mention for blue uncommon, and I think that is Roiling Waters. If this format is any if Battle for Zendikar is any indication for how fast this format will be, this format will be pretty slow. And looking at it, it looks like it'll also be a pretty slow format. It may be a little faster. The removal looks to be better in Oath of the Gatewatch than it was in Battle for Zendikar. But Roiling Waters is a really strong card, and I think most blue decks, that have a lot of removal, whatever their other color is, will probably like a card like Roiling Waters. In the late game, it can just be the end of the game for your opponent, basically. You bounce 2 of their cards and you draw 2 cards for 7, which is a pretty good deal. It does take a whole turn. It is a sorcery, so it's not like an amazing card by any means, but it is a good card. I think most blue decks will probably be happy to have one of them. It can be a huge card in either helping them stabilize or just helping them win the game instantly. So Roiling Waters, I think, is pretty good. All right, so now we will get to the best commons. The third best common, I think, is Gravity Negator. This card's success, how good it is, will depend on how easy it is to get colorless mana sources, and I think it's going to be relatively easy, but not incredibly so. But I think it'll be easy to have one colorless mana source in play for Gravity Negator's effect. I mean, again, it's sort of like the card that I said was the best uncommon in that it's a decently costed flyer. 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer is not bad. And on top of that, it has what is an incredibly powerful ability in that when it attacks, you can give anything else flying. It reminds me of the card from Fate Reforged, the 4 mana 3/3 with Prowess, who whenever you played a non-creature spell gave another creature flying. And it's not quite as good as that, of course. That was one of the best uncommons in the set. But Gravity Negator is a common, and at common I think it's very strong. I think the fact that it already is an evasive threat and can attack, in the air as a win condition on its own, and then the fact that you can be lifting up your big Eldrazi into the air, giving it flying and making it evasive seems very good to me as well. Again, if it turns out that it's really hard to get colorless mana sources, which again I don't think will be the case, it won't be quite as good. But even if you only get one trigger out of this that you use, like say by sacking an Eldrazi Scion, Gravity Negator is very good as far as commons go. I will say that at common, I think blue is much, much deeper than it is at uncommon, where it's a little underwhelming. But there's some very good blue commons, and we'll continue there with Blinding Drone, who's a 2 mana 1/3. Passes the vanilla test all right. And on top of that, like Gravity Negator, this card depends a bit on how easy colorless mana is to get, but it's not super intensive with it. You only need to have one source of it, and if you do, Blinding Drone is actually a better Master Decoy, basically, because Master Decoy was a 2 mana 1/2 who could tap things for 1 white mana, and this is a 2 mana 1/3 who could tap things for 1 mana. So it's pretty good. Again, I think that there'll be enough colorless sources that it'll be good. It's probably going to be a little more hamstrung if colorless sources are really hard to get a hold of, if everyone's fighting over them, than Gravity Negator, who only needs to trigger it once or twice, whereas Blinding Drone wants to be triggering it a lot regularly, either to stop your opponent's biggest creature from attacking or allowing you to swing for more damage. The number 1 common is not a card that cares about colorless mana at all, and it is a good removal spell. It's It's a 3-mana instant, sweep away. You return a creature to its owner's hand, but if that creature is attacking, you actually get to put it on top of its owner's library. So it's basically a strictly better Whisk Away, which put attacking creatures on top of its owner's library, but it didn't have the first clause. So Sweep Away can be used to occasionally get you a 2-for-1 if your opponent's trying to put an aura on something, or it's not quite a 2-for-1, but spending a lot of mana to equip something. I mean, if they're going to be equipping it, you may as well just wait for it to attack instead, and that's probably true for auras too, because then you can get more value. You can still get the 2-for-1 anyway, but the fact that it has that clause could end up being relevant. Typically, I think you'll be using it to put an attacking creature on top of its owner's library, but bouncing any creature for 3 at instant speed isn't bad either. I mean, you could also use it as the aggressor, of course, to bounce your opponent's 1 blocker and swing for the win. I do have one honorable mention at common that I wanted to mention honorably, and that is Containment Membrane. Normally, this kind of card isn't incredible. There's like Dehydration, which has been around, for a while, which costs 1 more than this. Does the same thing and doesn't have Surge. The fact that this thing has Surge, though, is pretty good. I mean, the fact that the Surge cost is 1 blue, I think makes it better than this card would usually be, because, there's going to be a lot of times where you're just holding onto this in your hand, but you can play 1 spell and then you have 1 island left and you can drop your Containment Membrane. The card is also made a little better in this set by the fact that the rallies have Cohort, the allies have Cohort, and it can shut down whatever problematic Cohort ally you're dealing with. There's also other really good activated abilities like we saw on the 2-mana 1/3 Master Decoy, basically. Shutting that down wouldn't be bad either at times. So Containment Membrane, I think, is a card that may end up cracking into the top 3 on this list, but I think it's a card that should be mentioned anyway, even though right now I don't see it quite that good, but it's still a very good blue common. So, like I said, at uncommon, blue's kind of lackluster, but at common, blue's pretty deep. I had a hard time even cutting it to 3, and Containment Membrane could very well be on that list as well. So, the other colors will be coming later this week. I'll also be doing videos on the top 10 bomb rares you want to open in pack 1, basically, and on the cards in the format that are trap cards that could potentially trick people into playing them that I don't think are especially good, as well as an archetype video, and those are all coming down the pipe over the next several days. So stay tuned on my channel. And thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.